The anime begins by showing the blue flames engulf the church as a group of exorcists struggled to perform a ritual. One by one, they were consumed by the flames until the entire church was ablaze. In the midst of this chaos, Okumura Rin, a teenage boy, was taking a leisurely walk through the streets at night. During his stroll, Rin stumbled upon Shiratori and his friends, who were in the midst of shooting birds. Disgusted by their actions, Rin confronted Shiratori, leading to an argument that ended with Rin violently attacking Shiratori. After the altercation, Rin returned to the church where he and his younger brother, Okumura Yukio, lived with the priest, Shiro Fujimoto. Upon seeing Rin's battered state, Fujimoto immediately accused him of getting into a fight, but Rin refused to confess. Fujimoto, outraged, proceeded to beat Rin. Not long after, Yukio tended to Rin's injuries. Despite being twins, Rin and Yukio had distinct personalities. While Yukio was a calm and genius teenager who had gained acceptance to a prestigious high school through a scholarship program, Rin was reckless, foolish, and mischievous. As Yukio treated Rin's injured hand, he mentioned that he would be moving to the dormitory. He then suggested that Rin apply for a job as a clerk at a local supermarket, though Rin was skeptical about his chances given his history of being fired for causing trouble. The next day, as Rin prepared to leave for a job interview, he witnessed Fujimoto calming down a young girl named Yuri. Fujimoto told Yuri to obey her parents and assured her that, as an exorcist, he would intervene if there were any problems. After Yuri and her mother left, Rin approached Fujimoto and teased him about fighting demons that didn't exist. Fujimoto replied that demons do exist and can be found in the hearts of humans. With that, he helped Rin straighten his tie and sent him on his way to the job interview. Rin arrived at the supermarket feeling uncertain about his chances of being hired. He had made a mistake while organizing the warehouse, but his cooking skills proved to be exceptional, leading to him being offered a job. Excited by the news, Rin called Yukio to share the good news. Yukio was overjoyed and burst into tears, and Fujimoto was also pleased that Rin had found employment. As Rin was leaving the supermarket, he spotted Yuri running after her ribbon and quickly retrieved it for her. However, he was surprised to see a small monkey-like creature carrying the ribbon. The creature ran into the supermarket, causing chaos as Rin chased after it. Unfortunately, the damage caused during the pursuit resulted in Rin being fired on his first day of work. Ashamed and unable to face his family, Rin went to the park to think things over. Eventually, Yukio found him and listened as Rin explained the events that had led to his being fired. Despite his fear of disappointing his loved ones, Rin couldn't bring himself to tell anyone at the church about being fired. Yukio tried to calm Rin down, and the two of them returned to the church. When they arrived, they saw Yuri and her father meeting with Fujimoto. Yuri's father mentioned that she was a careless child who often found herself in danger. Rin, feeling sympathetic towards Yuri, interrupted their conversation and claimed that a small monkey-like creature had been bothering her. Yuri confirmed his words, but her father didn't believe her. Fujimoto stepped in to defuse the situation and gave Yuri a protective amulet. The next day, Rin woke up to find the room filled with black objects scattered in the air. As he made his way outside, he was confronted by Shiratori and his friends, who sought revenge on Rin and threatened to harm Yukio if Rin didn't comply with their demands. The group took Rin to a secluded location, where they proceeded to beat him. Suddenly, Rin released blue flames that engulfed his body, allowing him to turn the tables on his attackers and go on a rampage. To his surprise, Shiratori transformed into a half-demon and ranted incoherently about Rin. It was revealed that he had been possessed by the demon Astaroth. Just then, Fujimoto arrived and swiftly defeated Astaroth, expelling it from Shiratori's body. Shiratori collapsed as a result. Rin was confused by the events that had transpired, so Fujimoto explained that the world was divided into two realms, Asiya, where humans lived, and Gehenna, where demons dwelled, and that it was important to keep these realms separate. To Rin's surprise, Fujimoto revealed that Rin was the reincarnation of the demon king's son, Satan. After the incident, Fujimoto and Rin returned to the church and set up protection against demons. Fujimoto warned that Astaroth's minions would soon be searching for Rin. As the priests in the church set up protection magic, Fujimoto led Rin to a secret room and retrieved a demon-slaying sword called Kurikara from a drawer. He explained that Rin's demonic powers were sealed within the sword and restrained by its sheath. Fujimoto emphasized the sword's importance, telling Rin that it was more valuable than his own life and that he must never give it to anyone. He also warned Rin not to unsheath the sword, as it would release his demonic powers and he would no longer be human. Rin asked why he was the only one with demonic powers, while Yukio was born normal. Fujimoto explained that Yukio's body was too weak to handle demonic powers. Astaroth's minions managed to break through the church's defenses and attack the priests. Fujimoto gave Rin a cell phone with a single number programmed into it, and instructed him to call the number and meet his friends. Fujimoto then joined the other priests in the fight against the demons. Shiratori, once again possessed by Astaroth, went on a rampage, destroying everything in his path. His body eventually transformed into the monstrous Astaroth demon, overwhelming the priests. Rin charged forward and launched an attack, knocking Astaroth to the ground. Seeing an opportunity, Fujimoto performed an exorcism, successfully defeating and driving away Astaroth. As Fujimoto completed the exorcism, his body was suddenly possessed by a demon. To Rin's shock, the demon was revealed to be Satan, his own father. Satan invited Rin to join him in Gehenna, and blue flames burned fiercely within Fujimoto's body. He prepared to suck Rin into the gate to Gehenna. Fortunately, Fujimoto's consciousness briefly returned and he fought to control his body, determined not to let any harm come to Rin. Eventually, he managed to stab himself, causing him to fall through the gate. Desperate to save Fujimoto, Rin drew his sword, which released a burst of powerful energy that caused his ears to become pointy and his body to be engulfed in blue flames. He used the energy to slash at the gate to Gehenna, ultimately destroying it. Fujimoto lay badly injured on the floor as Yukio arrived on the scene, shocked by the turn of events. Fujimoto ultimately died from his injuries. After the incident, Rin decided to leave the church and become an exorcist. He attempted to call the number on the cell phone that Fujimoto had given him, only to find the person he was calling, Mephisto, standing in front of the cemetery. Mephisto, the principal of True Cross Academy, presented Rin with 3 options: kill, be killed, or ending his own life. Rather than choose any of these options, Rin declared that he wanted to become an exorcist like Fujimoto. Mephisto found Rin's answer amusing, knowing that he was Satan's son yet still wanting to become an exorcist. Despite this, Mephisto agreed to Rin's request. Yukio soon joined them and referred to Mephisto as Faust, a name he used publicly to avoid suspicion. The 3 of them then set off for True Cross Academy. During the Academy's admission ceremony, Yukio was announced as the new student representative and gave a speech, much to Rin's surprise as Yukio had the highest score among the students. After the ceremony, Rin rushed to find his dormitory, only to encounter a suspicious dog. He followed the dog outside and was shocked to see it transform into Mephisto. Mephisto explained that True Cross Academy was a school for training exorcists, and that Rin would be required to attend both normal high school classes and special exorcist classes. Mephisto also gave Rin a key that could take him anywhere with a single door. Mephisto then led Rin to his class, where a few other students were already present. Mephisto explained that most of the students had received Masao, a wound that allows them to see demons. However, he stated that Rin did not need to receive Masao as he was already a demon descendant. Soon, the teacher arrived and Rin was surprised to see that it was Yukio. He asked Yukio why he became a teacher and when he received Masao. Yukio explained that he received Masao from Rin when they were young, and since then had been able to see demons. Fujimoto began training him to be an exorcist when he was 7 years old. Upon hearing this, Rin became angry with Yukio and the 2 of them argued about Fujimoto's death. Suddenly, the liquid tube in the room cracked and released a horde of goblins. Yukio drew his gun and began shooting at the goblins, accusing Rin of causing Fujimoto's death. He stated that Fujimoto was the greatest exorcist and the only human who could resist possession by Satan, yet he still died. Rin became enraged at being blamed for Fujimoto's death and Yukio's declaration that he was a demon who did not belong in the human world. He drew his sword and blue flames enveloped his body as he prepared to attack. Yukio pointed his gun at Rin, further escalating the tension between the 2 of them. However, Rin chose not to attack Yukio and instead slashed his sword at the giant goblin that appeared behind him. He stated that he could not bring himself to hurt Yukio and reiterated his desire to become an exorcist in order to become stronger and protect those around him, just like Fujimoto had done. Yukio then asked what Fujimoto was like in his final moments. Rin replied that Fujimoto was very cool, as he protected them until the end despite knowing that Rin and Yukio were the devil's sons. This seemed to calm the tension between the 2 of them, and they stood side by side to defeat the remaining goblins. In the end, Rin and Yukio reconciled and the other students were allowed to enter the classroom and begin their lessons. After school, Yukio invited Rin to go to their dorm room together. He had fought hard to get a room with Rin, arguing that he was dangerous and needed to be watched. As the days passed, Rin began his studies at True Cross Academy. One day, while he was sleeping in class, he woke up to see Yukio handing out the results of a potions lesson exam. He was sitting next to a student named Moriyama Shiemi, who seemed confident that she had aced the exam. However, when she received her results, she only scored a 40 due to using her own invented terms to answer the questions. As Rin's turn approached to receive his exam results, he nervously awaited the outcome. Unfortunately, his score was even worse than he had feared, due to his lack of attention in class. But to Rin's surprise, the next student to receive their results was Suguro Ryuji, a classmate who appeared rough and tough. Much to Rin's chagrin, Ryuji received an impressive score of 98. Rin couldn't believe that Ryuji, who he had assumed was not very bright, had outperformed him. His older brother Yukio, offered an explanation for Ryuji's success. Despite his rough exterior, Ryuji had always been attentive in class, unlike Rin, who tended to be more playful and neglectful of his studies. With that, Yukio bid Rin farewell, as he had to go teach another class. Some time after their initial altercation, Ryuji and his friends came to mock Rin, leading to another argument between the two. In their next lesson, the students were tasked with running around the field to evade a giant frog demon. Rin and Ryuji were assigned to run together, but their unresolved tension caused them to argue once again. The giant frog demon even came dangerously close to catching both of them. Fortunately, their teacher intervened just in time, saving them from the demon's grasp. As Rin chatted with his friends, the male teacher called Ryuji aside to reprimand him for his troublesome behavior. Despite this, the teacher recognized Ryuji's potential as a great student and future hope for the Exorcists. As Rin continued to navigate his life as a student, he learned about Ryuji's troubled past. 16 years prior, a disaster had struck the temple where Ryuji lived. Many priests and exorcists were possessed by Satan and burned with blue flames, an event known as the Blue Night, when Satan attempted to enter the human world. From that moment on, Ryuji was determined to become an exorcist and defeat Satan. Upon hearing Ryuji's story, Rin realized that their goals were similar. Both of them sought to defeat Satan and protect the world from the forces of darkness. On the other hand, Ryuji received a warning from his teacher that Rin had been specially brought to the school by Faust and was being trained to defeat Satan. This revelation led to another argument between Ryuji and Rin, as they both sought to prove their own determination to defeat Satan. In an effort to test each other's resolve, Ryuji challenged Rin to face the giant toad demon. The demon had the ability to sense a person's determination and would attack those who wavered or lacked strong resolve. Rin refused Ryuji's offer to face the demon, explaining that they both had the same goal of defeating Satan. Despite this, Ryuji insisted on taking on the demon, but unfortunately, his willpower was not yet strong enough and he was almost consumed by the creature. In a surprising turn of events, Rin stepped in front of Ryuji and allowed himself to be devoured by the demon. However, Rin's strong determination allowed him to convince the demon to retreat, rather than following through with its attack. After this intense encounter, Rin extended an olive branch to Ryuji, inviting him to make amends and work together towards their shared goal of becoming great exorcists. One night, a teacher named Newhouse Igor sneaked into Rin's room with the intention of killing him. However, his actions were witnessed by Yukio, leading to a fierce fight between the two men that took them to the school roof. Igor then performed a dangerous demon summoning ritual, summoning a giant and fearsome demon. Yukio attempted to fight the creature, but was quickly overpowered. Rin soon arrived on the scene and engaged the demon in a fierce battle, using his blue flames to fight back. However, the demon managed to catch Rin and began to squeeze him tightly. Fortunately, Yukio quickly erased the magic circle that Igor had used to summon the demon, causing it to disappear. Rin then placed his sword at Igor's neck, demanding an explanation for his actions. Igor explained that he was one of the survivors of the Blue Night incident, having managed to survive after a demon attempted to possess him. However, when Igor returned home to his family, the demon possessed his hand and tried to force him to slaughter his loved ones. From that moment on, Igor harbored a deep hatred for demons, including Rin, who was a descendant of Satan. Igor attacked Rin again, but this time, Rin allowed the attack to hit him, much to the surprise of both Igor and Yukio. Rin told Igor that if he was the only target, he was willing to endure as many attacks as necessary. Unexpectedly, Rin's determination caused Igor to abandon his plan and leave. Sometime later, Mephisto announced that the Exorcist students had performed exceptionally well on their public exams and decided to treat them to a meal together. In private, Mephisto called his younger brother in the world of Gehenna and informed him that Igor had failed his mission. Upon hearing this, the demon Amaimon became increasingly interested in Rin's powers. The following day, True Cross Academy's gatekeeping cat, Kuro, began acting strangely. Yukio was summoned to handle the situation, and Rin accompanied him to the gate. To their surprise, Kuro had transformed into a giant cat and was rampaging uncontrollably. The security guards reported that they had overheard Kuro talking about Fujimoto's death. It was revealed that Kuro was actually a demon that had been tamed by Fujimoto, and upon Fujimoto's death, Kuro was left devastated and began his rampage. Upon hearing the officer's explanation, Rin decided to confront Kuro and told him the truth about Fujimoto's death. At first, Kuro refused to believe Rin's words and attacked him. However, Rin received the attack head-on, causing both he and Kuro to clash heads. To everyone's surprise, Rin's method worked and Kuro began to cry as he accepted the truth about Fujimoto's death. After consoling Kuro, Rin encouraged him not to get lost in his grief. Kuro continued to remember Fujimoto and cried even more, before returning to his original form as a small cat. Despite the tumultuous incident, Kuro decided to follow Rin, as he was Fujimoto's son. Sometime later, as Rin was preparing to go to the playground with his classmates, he was confronted by Amaimon, Mephisto's younger brother, and one of the sons of Satan. Amaimon immediately grabbed Rin's sword and drew it out of its sheath, causing Rin's body to be covered in blue flames. Amaimon then attacked Rin, curious about why Satan and Mephisto were so interested in him. However, Amaimon was disappointed by Rin's weakness and was about to give up on him. To Amaimon's surprise, Rin went berserk and created a powerful blue flame, rekindling Amaimon's interest in him. The demon launched increasingly powerful attacks, causing the entire playground to shake. Despite the ferocity of the attack, Rin stood his ground and continued to fight back. As the intense battle between Rin and Amaimon continued, a hooded figure suddenly appeared and protected Rin from Amaimon's attacks. The mysterious figure's appearance caused Amaimon to lose interest in the fight, and he returned Rin's sword before departing. Soon after, Yukio arrived at the scene and the hooded figure revealed her identity as Kirigakure Shura, a member of the elite Exorcists. After the confrontation with Amaimon, Shura took Rin and Yukio to the Japanese branch of the Exorcist headquarters, where they met Mephisto. As the supervisor of the Vatican headquarters, Shura had been watching Mephisto closely and was curious about the presence of the Sons of Satan at True Cross Academy. Mephisto explained that Rin was being trained to use his powers at the academy in order to fight Satan. Shura then asked Mephisto why he had not reported this to the Vatican, to which Mephisto replied that Rin's powers were still under control. Shura also inquired about Fujimoto's involvement in all of this, and Mephisto revealed that Rin was Fujimoto's adoptive son and had been placed at True Cross Academy at Fujimoto's request. Rin was shocked to learn that Shura had been Fujimoto's student and had been fighting alongside him long before he and Yukio were born. Meanwhile, Shura invited Rin to go out together. While they were out, Rin tried to steal Shura's sword, but she caught him easily and took his sword instead. Shura was disappointed that Fujimoto's precious object was so easily taken. However, Rin surprised Shura by activating the blue flame even though he hadn't drawn his sword. Intrigued, Shura unsheathed her own sword and the two of them began to fight fiercely. Despite Rin's use of the blue flame, Shura, a top-class exorcist, was far superior and eventually managed to extinguish Rin's flame. Despite this, Rin refused to give up and continued to attack Shura blindly in a berserk state. However, Shura was still able to easily defend herself and eventually stabbed Rin with her sword, telling him to just go to the demon world. Rin refused, stating that he had promised Fujimoto that he would become the greatest exorcist and defeat Satan. Shura chuckled at Rin's determination and put her sword away, walking away and leaving Rin behind. After her encounter with Mephisto, Shura decided to postpone her report to the Vatican and instead watch over Rin and the others. She returned to where Rin was being treated by Yukio and gave him a wooden sword, telling him that she would keep his own sword for the time being and challenging him to become stronger so that he could reclaim it by defeating her in a future fight. The next day, Rin was surprised to find Shura in his class, serving as the substitute teacher for the missing Igor. At the same time, a top-level exorcist named Arthur August Engel arrived, revealing that he was Shura's superior. Arthur came to try to finish Rin off, but Shura intervened and the two of them engaged in a fierce battle. Eventually, Arthur was able to defeat Shura and even managed to grab Rin's sword. However, Mephisto soon arrived to stop the fight. Afterwards, Arthur was ordered to arrest Rin and Mephisto and bring them to a special court for interrogation. In the process, Arthur discarded Rin's sword, which had lost its ability to hold the blue flame. Later, Rin and Mephisto were brought to the True Cross Order Court for a trial. During the proceedings, Rin was sealed inside a blue crystal while Mephisto was interrogated. Mephisto revealed that he and Fujimoto had planned to use Rin to fight Satan. Meanwhile, Yukio explained the situation with his twin brother to Ryuji and the others, including the condition of Rin's damaged sword and the possibility that he may not be able to return to his former self. Ryuji, who knew a skilled sword forger, suggested they go and see if the sword could be repaired. When they arrived, they met a girl named Yoshikuni, who examined Rin's sword and determined that she would need more power and special materials to repair it. Determined to help, Ryuji and the others set out to a shrine to find the materials Yoshikuni needed. Upon arriving at the temple, they encountered a demon possessing a Buddha statue that had the power to display everyone's inner anxieties. Thankfully, Ryuji was able to overcome the demon and dispel the negative images that everyone had seen. On the other hand, Amaimon went into a berserk state when he learned that his older brother had been arrested and went to the location of the trial. Mephisto then suggested to the True Cross Order Council that they test Rin's strength to determine if he would become the savior of humanity or Satan's successor. At the same time, Ryuji and the others finally obtained the materials needed by Yoshikuni, and she began forging Rin's sword. Amaimon arrived at the trial and began rampaging, causing panic among everyone except for Mephisto. Amaimon's presence also allowed Rin permission to do whatever it took to defeat him. The crystal encasing Rin's body was broken, but unfortunately he remained unconscious. As this was happening, Yukio, Ryuji, and the others arrived carrying Rin's newly forged sword. Yukio managed to avoid Amaemon's attacks and hand the sword to Rin, causing the blue flame to immediately flare up and Rin to regain consciousness. With renewed strength, Rin was able to defeat Amaemon much to everyone's surprise. Seeing Rin's abilities, the True Cross Order Council finally agreed to Mephisto's request to make Rin an exorcist. Following the incident with Amaemon, Rin continued his activities as a student at the True Cross Order. Mephisto met with Yukio and delivered 2 conditions from the True Cross Order headquarters in the Vatican. First, Rin must pass the exorcist exam, which will be held in 6 months, and second, he must be watched by Yukio for 24 hours a day due to their status as twins. As time passed, Rin underwent intense training, receiving special instruction from both Yukio and Shura. One day, one of Rin's friends named Kanekomaru was possessed by an evil demon and attempted to kill Rin due to his hatred of demons, including Rin. At the same time, Rin's other friend Kamiki was visiting him while he was practicing. As they chatted, a demon suddenly appeared and attacked them with powerful wind powers, causing them all to panic. Yukio soon arrived and attempted to shoot at the demon, but it managed to escape through a nearby window. Rin and the others didn't waste any time and quickly split up to search for the demon's location. Meanwhile, Shura was also investigating the demon's presence, curious as to how it had managed to infiltrate the True Cross Academy. Her investigation led her to an abandoned laboratory that should have been inactive. On the other hand, Kanekomaru approached Rin while he was practicing and Rin noticed a demon perched on Kanekomaru's shoulder. Rin advanced to attack, but Kanekomaru suddenly ran away and sought protection from Ryuji and the others. Rin pulled out his sword and pointed it at Kanekomaru, telling the others that he was dangerous. However, his words were not believed by Ryuji and the others, who even tried to stop him, thinking that Rin was just making things up. This made Rin upset, as he could clearly see the demon on Kanekomaru's shoulder. In frustration, Rin launched another blue flame attack at Kanekomaru, but Ryuji managed to save him. At the same time, Yukio arrived and stopped Rin from acting recklessly. Ryuji then scolded Rin, warning him that his blue flame could kill humans. Afterwards, Ryuji took Kanekomaru to the school's medical room while Rin, feeling upset and not trusted by anyone, decided to go to the school roof to calm down. While Ryuji was talking with Kanekomaru in the school medical room, the demon on Kanekomaru's shoulder suddenly revealed itself, and the two united to transform into a powerful storm demon. This finally convinced Ryuji of Rin's words about Kanekomaru. The demon's power was too much for Ryuji to handle and he was unable to hold onto Kanekomaru, who immediately broke the window of the medical room and flew off to meet Rin, who was relaxing on the school roof. Yukio, Ryuji, and the others soon arrived, but they also couldn't stop Kanekomaru, who was possessed by the storm demon. Rin fought fiercely, but was caught and almost killed by Kanekomaru. In a berserk state, Rin overpowered the storm demon and tried to convince Kanekomaru to break free from its influence. Eventually, Rin succeeded in convincing Kanekomaru and helping him to break free. Kanekomaru jumped down and Rin caught him, finishing off the storm demon with a single slash. Meanwhile, Shura reported the results of her investigation to Mephisto, who explained that the abandoned laboratory was a former Vatican facility that should have been closed hundreds of years ago. They decided to conduct further investigations into the matter. Sometime later, Yukio went on a train ride and met an old man named Ernst Frederick Egan, who turned out to be Yuri Egan's father, Yukio and Rin's mother. Ernst told Yukio that the True Cross Order in the Vatican was responsible for killing Yuri for giving birth to the sons of Satan, Rin and Yukio. He explained that Yuri had been deliberately burned alive by the True Cross Order and that he, Ernst, had also been detained for being considered a danger. After this incident, Yukio and Rin were protected and cared for by Fujimoto, until the True Cross Order learned of their existence and decided to eliminate them. Ernst, who had long since been released and now held a position as an official in the True Cross Order in the Vatican, managed to control the situation and prevent Rin and Yukio from being executed. Later, the two of them arrived at a facility called Dragon that was developing the most powerful demon-killing weapon. Ernst invited Yukio to join him in using the weapon to change the world. On the other hand, Rin and Shura were interrogating Igor, who had been captured. According to Shura's investigation, Igor's wife, Nahao's Michelle, had died 16 years ago, and Shura accused Igor of performing a forbidden magic called Hong, which can bring the dead back to life. Igor admitted to preserving his wife's corpse, but denied performing the magic. He explained that one night, he saw his wife leave her coffin, leading to Igor being accused of practicing forbidden magic techniques. As a result, Igor and his wife fled to Japan. Over time, Michelle, who had died because of demons, began to change and sought to eliminate anyone related to the devil, including the sons of Satan. After hearing Igor's explanation, Rin left and searched for Michelle's location. Soon after, he received a call from Shiemi, who had something important to tell him and asked him to meet at a secret garden. When Rin arrived, he was surprised to see Michelle talking to Shiemi and realized that they were familiar with each other. Rin immediately pulled out his sword and tried to attack Michelle, but she panicked and took Shiemi hostage, causing Rin to hesitate. Not long after, Michelle fell in pain and released Shiemi, allowing Rin to try to attack her again. However, this time Shiemi held him back and tried to convince him to spare Michelle, causing Rin to hesitate once more. He then left and called Shura for assistance. Unfortunately, the Vatican branch of the True Cross Order, led by Arthur, had surrounded the area and intended to eliminate Michelle, who was considered dangerous. This led to a fight between Arthur and Rin. Shiemi and Michelle went outside and witnessed the conflict. Igor arrived and attempted to defuse the situation, offering to take Michelle's place and accept punishment from the True Cross Order. However, Rin became enraged and attacked Arthur, upset that he was not willing to listen to the truth from Michelle and Igor. Shortly after, Shura arrived and tried to stop Rin, but he continued to attack Arthur, causing Arthur to order his troops to shoot him. In the chaos, Michelle jumped in front of a bullet intended for Rin, getting hit and falling to the ground. This made Rin even angrier, and he rampaged even more. Igor approached his wife, trying to help her escape. When Arthur was about to arrest them, Shiemi used her magic to create protective plants, giving Igor and Michelle time to escape. Not long after, the bell of the True Cross Order from the Vatican rang, and Arthur and his troops were forced to leave the area. Meanwhile, Ernst returned to see Yukio and explained his plan to solve all their problems with demons. He and his team had created Messiah, a weapon that could destroy the entire demon world, but to do so he would need to open the Gehenna Gate, something only Satan could do. Ernst had succeeded in creating an artificial gate that could connect to the Gehenna, but it would take a large amount of demon blood to keep it open. He convinced Yukio that if they destroyed the Gehenna, Rin and Yukio could return to being human. Ernst also revealed that he knew Yukio had been hiding the fact that his body was slowly turning into a demon. In response, Ernst appointed Yukio as the head of the Japanese branch of the True Cross Order and instructed him to lead exorcists in Japan in cleansing the demons. With the help of Ernst's weapons, the task became much easier. One dark, cold night, Yukio went to visit Rin, who was deep in the forest. He informed Rin that they needed to kill Kuro and the demons who had aided them. Rin, shocked and angry at the suggestion, refused immediately. Yukio, however, had no other choice but to knock Rin unconscious and bring him to the Vatican. The next day, Rin was taken to an altar by Ernst, where a group of exorcists had gathered to perform a ritual. Rin was then crucified and the ritual began. To everyone's surprise, Ernst intended to sacrifice Rin in order to open the gates of Gehenna. Yukio tried to protest, but he was unable to do much. As Rin writhed in pain from the energy of the ritual, Yukio could not bear to watch his suffering any longer. In the end, Yukio offered to take Rin's place and save him, and Ernst agreed. Yukio cut his hand and his blood mixed with Rin's on the altar, creating a powerful energy. The gates of Gehenna were opened, and Ernst ordered the exorcists to launch Messiah. As the darkness closed in, Messiah failed and Ernst found himself being drawn towards the gates of Gehenna. Suddenly, Satan emerged, revealing to Yukio the truth about their mother Yuri. Years ago, Yuri and her team were investigating reports of human burning in the forest when they stumbled upon Satan's blue flame. The entire team was engulfed in the flames, but Yuri alone survived the incident. Intrigued by the flame and its wielder, Yuri sought out Satan and offered to be possessed by him, as she was immune to the flame's destructive power. Over time, Yuri came to love Satan, despite the danger of their relationship. One day, Fujimoto returned to the forest where Yuri lived and attempted to rid the area of demons. Upon seeing Yuri release blue flames all over her body, Fujimoto realized that she had encountered Satan and was now pregnant with his child. The revelation of Yuri's pregnancy sent shockwaves through the True Cross Order and the Vatican, leading to Fujimoto's arrest for impregnating her. When Ernst learned of Yuri's pregnancy with Satan's children, he declared her a witch and ordered her to be burned at the stake. In an effort to save her, Satan possessed all of the exorcists around Yuri, but one by one they fell as they could not withstand the blue flame. Finally, Satan possessed Ernst, who was strong enough to survive the blue flame and free Yuri. While in prison, Mephisto encountered Fujimoto and informed him that the exorcists had been ordered to kill Yuri and her unborn child. The two of them quickly set off to find Yuri, eventually discovering her in a cave where she had given birth to twins, the sons of Satan. Mephisto intended to carry out the True Cross Order's command to kill Yuri and her children, but Fujimoto argued that the children were innocent. Mephisto ultimately relented and offered Fujimoto a challenge. If he could raise the children as humans, Mephisto would spare their lives, but if their demonic powers manifested, they would be killed. Fujimoto accepted the challenge, and Mephisto sealed Rin's blue flame into the sword Fujimoto carried. Upon learning the truth about his mother, Yukio was filled with rage and allowed Ernst to be drawn into the gates of Gehenna. This gave Satan the opportunity to possess Yukio's body. Satan explained that his goal was to merge the two worlds into one. Rin attempted to attack Satan and demanded that he leave Yukio's body, but Satan immediately fought back with his friends, overpowering them. Meanwhile, Shura appeared and tried to fight Satan, but she was no match for him. In the end, her goal was simply to buy time for Rin and his friends to escape. After going into hiding, Shura, Rin, and the others quickly formulated a plan to defeat Satan. Shura explained that Satan would not be able to resist the pull of the Gehenna Gate, and that if they could destroy the gate, they could defeat Satan. She tasked Rin with destroying the gate, as she knew he had done it before, while she and the others would distract Satan. The plan was put into action, but Satan proved too powerful, defeating Shura and the others. Rin was forced to intervene to save them and engage Satan in battle while trying to bring Yukio back to consciousness. Despite being battered by Satan, Rin refused to give up and continued to try to awaken Yukio. Despite Satan's efforts, Rin's actions eventually helped Yukio regain control of his body. In a final act of desperation, Satan took possession of Yukio once more and made him shoot Rin. In a fit of rage, Yukio tried to regain control and pointed a gun at his own head, ready to follow in Fujimoto's footsteps. Rin, not wanting to lose another loved one, tackled Yukio and hit him until he fell, causing Satan to be expelled from his body. However, Satan refused to give up and his voice could still be heard emanating from the Gehenna Gate. The gate began to rise into the sky, releasing hundreds of demons and growing larger, threatening to consume Asiya. As the fierce battle raged on, Kuro suddenly appeared and transformed into a giant cat. Rin and Yukio quickly climbed aboard and soared into the sky, determined to destroy the demon's portal. Kanekamaru, meanwhile, had a brilliant idea to lend them a hand. He explained that due to the time difference between Japan and the Vatican, it was still daytime in Japan. If they could somehow reflect the sunlight from the Vatican through the portal that connected the two True Cross Order headquarters, it could weaken the demons. Kanekamaru and the others sprang into action, determined to put their plan into motion. As they worked quickly to set up the mirrors, the exorcists knew they had to act fast. The light from the mirrors shone bright and true, reducing the power of the demons and providing the perfect opportunity for Rin and Yukio to strike. They both ignited the blue flames that burned within them and flew straight towards the Gehenna Gate. With a fierce determination, they combined their demon powers and slashed at the gate with all their might. Their efforts were finally rewarded as the Gehenna Gate crumbled before them. Rin and Yukio safely landed on the ground, triumphant in their victory over Satan. The moral of this anime is clear: with hard work and perseverance, we can overcome any obstacle and achieve our goals.